In 2015, the Australian Literacy Educators Association declared literacy as a powerful, wide-ranging skill beyond traditional notions of talking, listening, reading, and writing. These notions could be, however, seen as components linked together when laying the foundation for effective literacy practices in the classroom. Teachers must hone their students' skill set amongst these four separate, although linked, components. To be able to understand literacy, students must first be able to have an understanding of language. The English curriculum is broken down into three interrelated streams: language, literacy, and literature. When examining the language stream within the Australian curriculum, it identifies the components and contents to be achieved for each year level. Within each content point possesses an individual curriculum code. Within each code, elaborations are included to assist teachers with extra descriptions of observations or examples of achievement. For example, in the language stream for Year 1 under the content heading Language for Interaction, a separate code exists to understand that there are different ways of asking for information, making offers and giving commands. Within this, there are many skills the students will be acquiring, which will include interpersonal and social capabilities, writing, listening, speaking and reading. The elaboration attached to the content code are learning the difference between questions and statements, requests and commands. Learning about the difference between closed questions, for example, did they enjoy the book? And open questions. What made this book so exciting? What did you like about it? What made you think of it? What does it make you think of? Or how does it make you feel? To be able to respond and provide examples to each of these dot points and how these can be taught in a classroom, first we need to discover what they mean, the definitions of questions and statements, requests and demands, and further how they can be incorporated into a classroom where students can recognise the difference and answer accordingly. A question can be defined as a sentence worded or expressed to elicit information. This also introduces the Year 1 level to the use of a question mark to indicate a question in writing and text, whereas a statement is a definite or clear expression of something in speech or writing. To ask a request from someone is an act of asking politely or formally for something. A command, on the other hand, is an authoritative or peremptory order. Breaking these down into the opposite terms for each activity, question, statement, request, command, a learning circle can be easily incorporated into the classroom where the students practice the verbal task of identifying these skills. Using a live-to-text approach, when explaining the definitions, use statements or questions and commands and requests the students would most likely hear at home. Simply, put your shoes on. That's more of a command. Can you put your shoes on? Is both a request and a question. Often the inflections given to words and sentences allows the students to better read the intention of the language. The students may not be aware their everyday conversations with parents, teachers and peers can be categorised into the different language definitions. Further discussion would be promoted on a regular basis after reading books to the students in a large group, after talking to them about their weekends, what they did for lunch breaks, and the things that they actually simply like. When discussing the definition of a question, the teacher can lead the conversation to the types of questions which can be asked depending on the reply the questioner is seeking. The notion of an open and closed ended questions is another literacy event children and students live every day. The questions asked them in the classroom, the schoolyard, and at home are all asked in a certain way to gather information for the person posing the question. An open-ended response is a meaningful answer to a question, task, or problem presented to students that has more than one possible answer. Open-ended responses can be used to promote curiosity, reasoning ability, creativity, and student independence, whereas a closed-ended response is those which can be answered by a simple yes or no. Open-ended questions in the classroom aid comprehension for students, especially in relation to reading text and story. To gather information from answers and conversations, the teacher will be able to identify if the students are understanding the story, what happened with their story, who the characters mentioned and involved, and if they require further assistance with their reading and comprehension. Okay, so when we're thinking about open and closed questions, I want you to picture this. I want you to picture a shape that is closed. A circle is a really, really good example. Then when we're looking at something that is open, maybe sort of like a U shape. When we're looking at this in the context of a questioning, within this circle shape, we can only fit in a certain amount of words. Perhaps yes and no. When we have an open shape though, we can fit in so many words and lots of different answers, we can extend things even further out as they go around, and we can use those questions and those answers to then actually answer and make more of a story behind it as well too. So we have so much information we can pop in from one little possible tiny question we have here, can go all the way out. Visual diagrams such as this is a way for the students to see the cognition and understanding. They can actually have a visual way of looking at what we're actually trying to achieve with open questions and open and closed questions, and the answering that then follows along with it. When looking at the difference between open and closed questions, we can use it when we're looking at literature, so we're looking at reading and writing, and we can also look at it perhaps when we're looking at artwork and drawings. The difference between perhaps an open and a closed question is, for example, a closed question would be, do you like this painting? Yes or no? An open question perhaps is, what do you think the girl is looking at? What do you think she's seeing? What do you like about the picture? What emotions is it giving it to you? What do you think she might be thinking? These sort of things are leading questions that then actually, I think, asking the students to actually give a more thought out answer and perhaps filling it out from there. Furthermore, allowing the students to reflect on moments in their lives where they have both posed questions and answered them. The students are building on their personal and social capabilities. Listening skills are extremely important when working on these sorts of discussions, as well as speaking skills. Students can be encouraged to write letters to their classmates, buddies, to practice structuring and posing questions to elicit a response or answer being sought. When posing these questions in written form, both writing and reading skills are also being honed and practiced. Rewording questions into statements and requests into commands, and vice versa, the students can reflect how the difference in wording is extremely important in the language and in how language is being viewed by the intended recipient. When reviewing a single content point, you can see how these link in with other streams within the English curriculum. Ensuring a deep understanding of simple yet necessary concepts used within the English language allow for deeper engagement and understanding in the classroom and all literacy areas. By laying a good foundation in the early years, the students are able to gain a greater understanding of literacy across the board. This will help them and aid them in their future education years and also in life ahead.